Hey folks, it's Echo here. Sometimes Horde Night just doesn't quite work out like you're expecting and you need a safe haven to run to. For that, I have built this absurd little joke of a Horde base, which is used to illustrate some of the wacky blocks that you have in 7 Days to Die. There are a number of characteristics that aren't evident if you're just looking at the normal menus, but we're going to go through and talk through the blocks that you can shoot through, loot through, wire through, all kinds of different characteristics and how we can then apply those to a Horde-based scenario. And at the end of the video, I'll cover 2 of my favorite blocks, specifically one of which allowed us to build this creation here. To get all this information, I had to dig through one of the game files called the shapes.xml. Now don't worry, we're not going into coding class now, but I do want to talk about one of the properties that is applied to each of the shapes, and that is the collide property. This will have between 1 and 5 values associated with it: movement, melee, bullet, arrow, and rocket. Movement is very straightforward. This means that zombies and players cannot move through it. Melee means that you cannot hit or swing through it. Bullet and arrow, interestingly enough, there's not a single block in the game that has one and not the other listed, so this simply means that projectiles can move through the block with the exception of rockets, which have their own category. So we're going to start off with 3 blocks that have all collision types. Now there's an additional attribute that's not noted, and that's whether or not there is a mesh file that matches up with the shape. Now that one you can't read in the XML, but for these cases, even though it says you cannot project or push through it from a movement perspective, you can reach through with things like wire tools. Additionally, if you can reach through with a wire tool, that means that you can loot through this and you can repair through this. So if you see a block on the other side, you can reach through and repair it. Now, in addition to this, you can also shoot through it. So if I pop through here, I'm gonna hit the block behind. But unfortunately, unlike some of the other blocks that have no bullet or arrow, if I shoot the block on the side here, I'm also gonna take it out. So cube 1 meter hole is one example of this. Gable inverted steep is another, and then arch 01. So this one's interesting because you can see you can place it in 2 different directions. If it's placed this direction, you can still reach through because the mesh file is properly installed, and I can reach through and grab that relay. But likewise on the top, I wouldn't be able to do anything through that, and we can shoot through and hit that. Now let's talk about some of my favorite blocks in the game. These have no collision with bullet or arrow, and you can reach through them to repair and things like that. So in the case of arrow slit 1/4, it's a little bit different in that the mesh covers just the bottom area. So if I try to reach through that, I can't reach through to the relay. But if I go over top, the space on top is available. Now, since these don't have collision, I can shoot through, and it's not just the open space that I can shoot through. If I try to shoot through the meat of the shape, I'm going to take out the block behind it, but this block itself will take no damage. So same thing, if I move up here close, I'll take out the block behind, but this block will remain solid. So that is the same regardless of the material. I didn't mention that earlier, but I'm using wood shapes just because or frame shapes because it really kind of highlights it, but it does not matter what type of material it is made out of. Next, we've got the Catwalk V1 rail only, and again, we can reach through here, you can see. Then we've got the railing. This is one of my favorite shapes to use. This works really well for defensive positions. This way, if you're using this to defend your horde base, you can reach through and grab loot. You can repair things on the other side. All the railing family will fall in the same line, so diagonal as well as railing centered would work in this case. Next, we have the baluster rail. I don't really like this one because it's kind of chunky, but you can see we can still reach through. It has the mesh properly designed for it, so we can reach through, which means again, you can loot and you can wire through. And then lastly, one of my favorite ones, you see me use this on my bases quite regularly, the baluster rail 02. Now I've seen a lot of people struggle to find block shapes, so if you're holding the block, press R to pull up the radial menu and shape is at the top, and that's going to bring up this menu. Now to find the block that you want, you're going to use the little search bar in the top right of the menu, and you're going to type in baluster here, and then nothing is going to show up. I think this is a common challenge that people are running into. If you notice, there is a set of categories on the left side. Currently round is selected, so if round is selected, it's only going to search for baluster blocks within that category. So if I unclick that, you will see that we have 4 blocks that show up, and there's our baluster rail 02. So if you find yourself challenged in finding any of the blocks, always double check that you do not have a category selected over here. Next, we're going to talk about blocks that you can shoot through that are used for increasing or decreasing elevation. So we're talking ladders and stairs. So we've got the round ladder here. And you can see we cannot reach through it from the center. So the mesh is solid through here, but if you're looking through the side, you can reach through. So you get a little peek at the side. Same scenario here with the ladder square, you can reach through. And again, just to kind of reiterate before, we can shoot through these without causing any damage. So both of these are safe to use for horde bases and not worried about getting destroyed by projectiles. The ramp shape is a fantastic block that I've never used in the past that often, but I will in a little bit. I'm going to show you a setup here in a second of how we can use this in a horde base that I find very interesting. But similarly to some of the others, it does have the open mesh at the top, so I can reach through here, but if I try to go actually through it, I can't get to that relay. Next up, we've got the stair spiral metal right and left. These ones are a little bit odd. This top section up here is available to reach through, and if I'm up here on the rails, I can reach through and grab the relay, but if you're trying to go through the actual stairs themselves, you cannot get through to that relay. Next up, this one is interesting. We've got the stairs metal railing has a unique characteristic, and we're going to talk about this in conjunction with the stairs 01 at the beginning. But stairs railing, similar sort of situation. If I reach over the top here, I can get through the railings. But if I try to reach through these stairs, I cannot make it through to that relay. And as before, we can shoot through this. Not going to do any damage to the stairs itself because it does not have those characteristics. Stairs 02, very similar. Now we're going to use stairs 01 as the example, and this will apply to stairs 01, it will apply to stairs railing and stairs railing metal. These are a little bit different. You could potentially use these in an early game horde base. So the normal setup that you often see going up to a ramp is going to be stairs like this with blocks filled in at the bottom for support. Because in this case, if I take that block out, that's no longer supported and it falls. And that is because each of these blocks are 1 by 1 by 1. Now, interestingly enough, the stairs block here is 1 by 1 by 2. So if I come here and place this, I do not need a supporting block on the bottom here. I can simply come up behind it here, a little finicky, and now I can place that with no additional support. Now, obviously, this is going to be less redundant for horde-based purposes and is a little bit riskier, but if you're in a really big rush, you can save some of those supporting blocks by leveraging stairs 1, stairs railing, and stairs railing metal. Now we're going to cover the last row here, which are blocks that you can shoot through, but you cannot do any type of repairs or wiring or anything like that. So you can see I can't reach through to grab that, but I can shoot through it easily without causing any harm. This is going to be the same for all the arrow variants. Now these are really useful for hiding dart traps and things like that, or you can put any type of traps, an SMG turret, anything like that will successfully shoot through it. Now this is probably a good point to also call out. If you can shoot through it, zombie puke is considered a projectile. I don't know if it's a bullet or an arrow, but it can go through these. So just be aware of that. Next, we've got the catwalk V2 rail only double end. And again, wait. Oh, I didn't think we could reach through this one. Okay, so this one, we might try some additional stuff here at the end with this one. This is, I did not know you could reach through. So this would actually belong in that second set of items that you can shoot through it. So if I hit the bars and whatnot, it's not going to cause damage or take out the block. And we can repair, which means we can also loot and everything else through it. The bars, unfortunately, though it looks like a good block, this is a block you should almost never use. It is inferior in almost every way. You cannot reach through, you can't loot through it, you can't do anything through it. The security gate plate is very similar. The rest of these are mostly all that way where you can't loot through them or anything. The security gate plates are really nice if you want to put lights behind these. Same thing with the dynamic grates. These are great to provide kind of some character to your base as the light will filter through those and provide lines. Next, we've got the trellis square and the trellis diamond. Same thing, these look like you should be able to reach through, loot, and all that stuff, but you cannot. Next, we've got industrial fence bottom 01. Same type of scenario over here. I thought we'd be able to use these, but nope. These fall under the category that you can't work through these. The confessional, I put these here. I don't know that I would use these, but it would be kind of a cool place to be able to hide, turrets behind and whatnot. Metal trussing 3D. This is one of my favorite blocks to build with in a horde base. And unfortunately, you used to. In Alpha 21, you were able to reach through these, and you can no longer reach through these and be able to wire up things on the other side, unfortunately. Lastly, over here, we have the cube frame, which again, really looks like you can reach through this, but has the same mesh as a regular cube. so I cannot do anything through this. I'm going to show you some practical applications of how this all comes together, but before I do that, I want to show you 2 magic blocks, one of which you probably know if you're a veteran to 7 Days to Die, and that is the scaffolding ladder. So the scaffolding ladder is unique in that it has all the collision factors in it. So it does stop bullets if you actually hit it directly on the meat of the block. But it also can shoot straight through if you're looking through the rungs, meaning that the mesh was properly set up for this. This is why this is the #1 block used to stop cop spit, but still being able to shoot through it. Now you do have to be careful because you can actually shoot and damage your own base here, but it is a very, very powerful block to use. So that is the scaffolding ladder. And the next one is how we did that magic trick of shooting through. There used to be a baluster pillar that you could use, but that is no longer in game. Now what we have is the siding burnt 01, so that it has one side here which is completely flat, so when it's set up like this, you cannot see that it is not a solid block as long as you surround it with other blocks. Now the downside to this block is that it has 1/10 of the health, so it will take significantly less damage before it falls apart than others. But as you see here, I can shoot straight through this and take out the target on the other side. And this is exactly how we built this starter safe area that we were talking about. We basically take that burnt siding 01 and flip it one way and then completely flip it upside down. So I'll go inside here, and as you can see from the inside, each of the spot that there's a target, there are 2 of these stacked on top of each other that the turrets can all shoot through. This could be extremely fun in a PvP type of situation, and you wouldn't have to go nearly as far as I went on this. I was just trying to, drive the point home. So let's toss together a few practical examples just to give you an idea and why you would do this. So here we've got ramp frames and ramp cubes together, so the zombies can path up here, and then we've got security gate plates here, and then up at the top we went with some railings in the front. This is that weird catwalk double end block that we had before that we found that we can reach through and shoot through and do all the good things through. And then on the top here we have a scaffolding ladder. And just as an example, we're gonna summon some friends over here. So we'll go ahead and bring in a handful of Marlenes, and then we'll run upstairs and kind of show you how this can play out. So we'll jump up the ladder in the back here, let them come up, so I can actually shoot them as they're approaching and take them out, or I can let them make it all the way up to the top. Once they're up to the top here, I can actually melee through that scaffolding ladder. So it is handy from a number of perspectives, but we cannot do any actual damage. So as you're shooting down, you're gonna, all day long, you don't have to worry about hitting your own base and doing damage or having bullet collision. Now you do have to worry about it for the scaffolding ladder, which you can easily pop out on accident. Now, of course, I'm using wood frames here, which you would never use in an actual horde base scenario. So I'm not going to build fighting positions in each time, but you can see here we used bars. This is using the metal trussing 3D. This is using I believe the Stairs 02 right here. Then we've got the security gate plate on a diagonal, and we use that double end. Let's see what the actual name of that critter was. So we can just copy shape and rotation by holding down R. And this is going to be the catwalk V2 rail only double end. That's quite a mouthful. And then we use the baluster 01 block across there, which would be a little bit funky looking. We did have to rotate this at the end because if you're coming through this way, you can path through this way. So we had to flip that one on the end up there. So lastly, I just want to show how these actually work if we had zombies out here. So I put a few SMG turrets back here as examples how you can use any block here, but this is that new magic block that we've got. So if I have some zombies out here, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. So that is on. The moment I summon a zombie out here, it will get shot through that wall. I'll keep my baseball bat equipped so that you can't see anything. So there's our zombie janitor, and there's him having a bad day. So same type of scenario. So that looks like a solid wall, but it is shooting actually through there. So same type of thing. Here's just an example of a block. There's a 3D truss block. We'll turn this on. Same thing. You can have it protected behind the wall there. Summon in whatever zombie you want. There's a Feral Joe. Feral Joe's gonna have a rough day. Hey folks, it's Echo here. I hope you learned something from that. I know I did just digging through the files. So as always, huge thanks to all my supporters over here. I appreciate y'all, and I will see everybody on the next one. Cheers.